At 5:12 a.m., the city convulsed like a horse throwing its rider. Porcelain sang, walls flexed, and the gas lamps hiccuped out little blue tongues. May lived above a steam laundry on Dupont, where mornings were counted in kettles and starch, not earthquakes. She ran barefoot into a street that rippled like cloth, watched a hydrant spit mud, and nothing else, and understood, before the smoke, before the sirens, that the city hadn't just cracked, it had gone thirsty. If true stories that cut deep are your thing, hit subscribe and reply, Dalsha, to keep going. April 18th, 1906 began with dishes screaming. Cups leapt, the iron stove waddled, the floor turned into a boat. May yanked her little brother Jun under the doorway, because their father always said to stand where the building most wants you to live. Ah Fong went for the biscuit tin, the ledgers of a narrow life, shirts pressed on credit, nickels owed, names of sailors and cooks who trusted his patience more than the banks. "Leave it!" May shouted. He didn't. Plaster powdered the air, a rack of drying shirts folded like a curtain, and the room swallowed him. Outside, Dupont Street heaved. A baker stumbled past, white with flour. A streetcar lay belly up, its wheels still spinning. Smoke put question marks above 2 rooftops, then 10. Someone yelled, "Gas main!" Firemen arrived, boots clanging, hoses thick as legs. A freckled captain spun the hydrant valve. The hose shivered, eager, nothing. He spun again, a brown mouthful, then a sigh. "Mains are busted," he said. "Fan out, fine pressure." "There's a man inside," May told him. "My father." "We'll try," he said, already moving. "But if we can't get water, we can't get anyone." Soldiers trotted past, rifles upright, uniforms too neat for a city in pieces. One steadied an old woman, then shouted to clear the street. "No one goes back," he called. "Orders." Jun tugged at May's sleeve. "Is Baba a looter if he takes the tin?" "No," she said. "He's our father." A city man with a bowler and a handcart of dynamite spoke to the captain. "No water. We cut a fire break." "You cut my block," a woman snapped. "You cut my mother's quilts." "Ma'am," he said, eyes wet from fumes, "we either lose a block or a city." May edged toward the doorway. A policeman with a waxed mustache stepped in front of her, looking over her, not at her. "Back. Chinatown's closed." "Our home is there," she said. "Our father is there." "And fire is here," he answered. His hand hovered near his pistol like a thought he didn't want. The first blast punched the street. A grocery leapt open like a book. Glass became snow. Someone yelled, "You're making it worse!" In the ringing that followed, May heard water pinging from a cracked pipe inside the laundry. Not a stream, a metronome. She gripped Jun's hand until he yelped. The captain leaned close, coal smoke woven into his coat. "If he's in there," he said, "he won't be long. The roof's going. Get to open ground. The water's gone." "Gone where?" Jun asked. "Underground," the captain said, already running toward another rumor of a working hydrant. By noon, the sun was the color of a bruise. Smoke stitched neighborhoods together. Bucket lines passed nothing from hand to hand. Soldiers pushed them back. Mrs. Alvarez from the fruit stall pressed a tangerine into Jun's palm, like fare for a boat. "Keep moving, Nina," she told May. "They will forget us first." Forget who? The poor, the foreign, anyone without a key. May didn't have time to sort it. The city demanded her feet. She turned from the laundry and felt the choice rip like a seam. A second blast took the rest of the front. The biscuit tin skated into the street and rang against her shoe. Hot. She grabbed it, burned her palms, held on. It didn't tell her anything she wanted to know. The fire ran uphill like news. Somewhere a hydrant coughed. Most stayed mute. May looped Jun's hand through her belt and started for the squares where rumor said families could pitch blankets. Behind them, shirts she had ironed into dignity turned to black confetti. She didn't cry. She counted steps, the only power the morning had left, and listened for water that wasn't there. 3 days, the city would say later, 3 days without water. In the moment it was just the next breath and the hard knowledge that if they wanted their father, their street, their lives, they would have to do what water does, find a way through brick. Portsmouth Square was a quilt of blankets, crates and people guarding nothing but air. Smoke curled down the alleys like it had learned the city's shortcuts. Men in brass helmets pried open a circular lid set in the pavement. Cistern, someone said, as if the word itself were water. A clerk with a clipboard and a moustache like 2 black commas announced, official use only. He didn't look at faces so much as sleeves, who had cuffs, who didn't. A hotelier with a silk scarf murmured something and pressed coins into the clerk's palm. Within minutes, a barrel on a handcart rolled toward Nob Hill behind a pair of uniformed escorts. "Is water money now?" John asked. "It always was," May said. The freckled captain from Dupont, coal smoke baked into his pores, snapped at his crew. "We're drawing a foot, maybe 2, no pressure, buckets only." He saw May and John and didn't recognize them without a burning doorway to frame them. "If you've got hands, make a line," he said. May stepped in, passed up an empty, passed down a full, arms stinging with a rhythm that felt like prayer. The water smelled like a cellar. It didn't matter. Across the square, a soldier nailed a sign to a post. "No looting. Curfew at dusk. Shoot to kill." A woman tore the sign down, then hugged it to her chest and cried as if it were a baby she'd tried to steal back. A crack of dynamite rolled up Washington Street. The ground answered, and everyone looked at their own shoes as if to apologize. "They're cutting a line," the captain said tightly. "Wind shifts. We're cooked." A policeman strode through the square, the same waxed mustache, the same way of speaking past May. "All Chinese to the east," he barked. "Evacuate. This block goes at sundown." "This block is our homes," an old man answered in Cantonese. The policeman pointed his chin like it was a gun. "Interpreter says you'll be accommodated." "Where?" May asked. He considered her, recalibrated her into someone to answer. "The camps, the Presidio, you'll get blankets." "We had a roof." "And a fire," he said, as if that settled it. May looked at the cistern, at the slow, precious ascent of tin pails. She could almost hear the laundry breathing, the timbers she knew, the corners where the walls always sweated in winter. The biscuit tin's handle had burned her palm into a crescent. She felt its weight under her shawl, ledgers, names, debts that were also friendships, sailors, cooks, men who owed her father the dignity of a crease. "Wait here," she told John. "I'm not—" "Wait," she said, with the voice their father used when a steam valve whined and he needed silence to hear what would break next. She threaded the edges of the square, skirting tongues of flame that licked the street like cats. Down an alley, a livery still had a horse trough full to the lip, the animal gone, the water trembling with each distant blast. A man with a bowler, the dynamite hand, leaned against the door frame, eyes red. He recognized her from the morning. "You should be somewhere flat," he said. "Grass, if you can find it." "Before you light my street," she said. "Give me an hour." "I don't light it," he said quietly. "I only hold the match." "Then hold it longer." He glanced at the sky, at the smoke stacked like dirty plates. "Wind wants to push the fire right through you. I'm already late." May set down the biscuit tin, flipped it open, took out the ledger. "You see these names? The Pacific Belle, the Havana Rose, the cook from the boarding house on Jackson. If you let me pull my father out, these men will haul your powder and help you cut your line With fewer houses lost, they'll listen to me before they listen to you." He looked at the clean columns of ink, the handwriting that made migrant lives look official. "You're bargaining with ghosts." "I'm bargaining with men who like their shirts stiff," she said, "and the man who gives them that." He closed his eyes, the way a person does before they lie or tell the truth that will cost them. "Half an hour," he said. "You yell if the roof goes. I'll drag you out by your hair if I have to." At the boarding house, May filled the doorway with urgency. Faces lifted, Cantonese, Spanish, clipped Irish. "Ah, Fong is under the laundry," she said, lifting the ledger like a priest lifts a book. "If he's gone, we deserve to know. If he's alive, we don't blow him up for someone else's boulevard." Tomas Alvarez, who delivered fruit with a barrow and a grin, grabbed a pry bar. "I'm with you." Two longshoremen, shoulders like docks, nodded. A cook with a scar on his jaw pocketed a chef's knife like a talisman. A girl not older than May's age draped wet towels over a stack of kindling and pressed them into May's hands. "For your face," she said. "Breathe through them." Jun was exactly where she had left him, jaw set, eyes too bright. "You said wait," he told her. "I waited. Next time I won't." "Next time bring a rope," she said, and saw the rope coil on his shoulder like a pet. They moved as a small river, fast, bending, loud only when stone forced them to be. Twice, soldiers tried to turn them. Twice, Tomas lifted the pry bar and talked with his smile instead of his mouth. Twice the smoke made May's lungs smaller than fear. At DuPont, the laundry stood like a memory trying to survive in a city that insisted on tomorrow. Charges sat at the corners like strange, blunt flowers. The dynamite man looked at his watch and then at May. 20 minutes, he said. "No heroics." "No heroes," May said. "Just family." Inside, the air was sweet with laundry starch cooked past, polite, bitter with gas, glittering with floating ash. Jun tied the rope around a beam, the other end around May's waist. She knotted a wet towel over her mouth. "Tap if you hear me stop," she told him. "Pull if I tug twice." "Don't be brave," he whispered. "Just be quick." May slid under a slumped rack, skin singing where sparks kissed it. The world shrank to splinters, to the metronome ping of that wounded pipe, to the idea of her father's breath somewhere under all this ruin. "Papa!" she coughed. "Answer me!" A cough answered, small and stubborn, like a nail refusing to bend. Her heart hit her ribs. "Keep talking," she said, pushing wood that pushed back. Outside, a soldier shouted, "Fire the charge!" "Stop!" May yelled, voice shredded. "He's alive!" Tomas bellowed something in Spanish that meant the same thing, but louder. The dynamite man's match hovered, the soldier's jaw set. The wind shoved the fire closer. The city held its breath the way it had that morning, waiting to see what would break next. "Fire the charge!" the soldier barked. "Hold!" the dynamite man said, match shivering, eyes on May's rope, disappearing under the broken lintel. Smoke wrung the color from his face. The freckled captain skidded in, took in the scene, and planted himself between soldier and fuse. "She's got a man inside," he said. "You blow now, you kill him. That's murder, even on a burning day." "Orders from the mayor," the soldier snapped. "Firebreak at DuPont. This block is kindling." "So is your uniform if you light that," the captain said evenly. "Give her 2 minutes." Inside, the laundry had become a throat of wood and heat. The cracked pipe pinged like a metronome learning to cry. May's hands moved without permission from fear, over charred beam, along the mangle's iron belly, past the fallen clothes press that smelled of cooked starch and trapped air. "Baba," she coughed. "Tap for me." 3 soft raps answered from a low, stubborn place. She pressed her cheek to ash and felt the floor's shallow breathing. "I hear you," she said, not sure whether it was promise or spell. "I've got you." She found him under the heavy table where he measured sleeves and lives. One leg pinned from the shin down, a beam kissing bone. His hair was grey with flour from the bakery next door, blown in by the shock, his face streaked clean where sweat had cut rivers. "Ledger?" he rasped. May wanted to laugh and cry both. "It's safe," she said, lying on purpose. "You're not." She looped the rope under his arms. The knot was the one he'd taught her for parcels bound for sailors, tight but kind. "On my pull!" she shouted toward daylight. "John, steady!" Outside, Tomas wedged the pry bar into the fallen rack and put his shoulder behind it. Jun leaned back on the rope, heels digging. "One!" May called, then 2! The beam lifted a whisper. The rope took her father's small weight and all the years he'd carried theirs. The floor complained, sparks pinwheeled. May grabbed a cracked pitcher, squatted under the pipe's thin blood, caught a palmful of water, slopped it onto the towel over her face. She did it again for Ah Fong. The wet found his mouth like a letter finally delivered. The soldier's boot ground cinders. 2 minutes are up," he told the dynamite man. The match hovered. The dynamiter's thumb trembled. "They're hauling," he said. "You light it with them inside. It won't be a firebreak. It'll be a grave." "Graves are already everywhere," the soldier said, voice like a door shutting. The captain stared him down. "Then don't build another," he said, and for a second the fire's sound was a crowd holding its breath. 3! May called. Tomas groaned. Jun yelped. The beam lifted enough for a body to remember it could move. May dragged. Ah Fong slid. Wood bit his trouser leg, bit again, then let go like a mean thought, giving up. They came out of the doorway as the building made a decision about whether it would stay a building. The soldier lunged for the fuse. The captain knocked his wrist. The match fell and died. The dynamite man grabbed both charges in a hug, stepped back, eyes wet. "Go," he told May. "Run." They ran. The laundry exhaled in a rush of flame like a furious stove. A sheet flared, turned to a black bird, and was gone. Ah Fong's breath came in torn cloth. He tried to stand and found the ground had risen. "Sit," May said, pushing her shawl under his head, her hands shaking like she'd drunk the whole bay. The policeman with the waxed mustache reappeared, nostrils full of duty. He looked at Ah Fong as if he were a stubborn package. "Evacuate east," he said. "Now. This zone is condemned." "He's hurt," May said. "Then limp," the policeman replied. "Or be carried. Either way, move." Tomas squared up. "You move your mouth too much," he said, not loud, not soft. Jun clutched the biscuit tin under his shirt. The corner bit his ribs like a tooth. The freckled captain crouched, eyes on Ah Fong's leg. "Broken," he said. "Clean, maybe. You'll walk again, sir, but not today." Ah Fong's hand found May's wrist. Father strength reduced to thumb, index. "Water," he whispered. "We're trying," she said. "The cistern at the square?" "Not that," he said, closing his eyes as if to see a different room. "Old well. Spofford Alley. Behind the Joss house. Boarded after the last sickness. Stone ring under the almond tree. No almond now, but the stones remember. Hand pump may still be there. Rusted." He pulled her closer with the weight of a sentence. Tell the captain, there's water asleep there." The captain's head turned sharply. "A well?" A spark of calculation lit behind smoke fatigue. "If we can draw and throw, we can hold this flank till the wind changes." The soldier scoffed. "Every immigrant has a story about a magic well." "And every uniform has a story about orders," the captain snapped back. "Only one of us is trying to find water." The policeman pointed at the ledger peeking from the tin. "This is evidence," he said. "We've got reports of looting." May stood, heat bowling through her, grief sharpening into something useful. "These are debts," she said, "which is to say, promises. You can have them when you give me a bucket." For the first time, the policeman actually saw her. Smoke had freckled her face. Her hair was a rope. Her hands were ash and blister. She did not look like anyone who would ask twice. He looked away first. The dynamite man blew ash from his palm. "Spofford Alley," he repeated, tasting the map. "Can we cut there if water fails?" "If water fails," the captain said, "we'll be sleeping in the bay. Move." Thomas and the longshoreman built a seat with their arms. Ah Fong hissed as they lifted him. Jun tucked in behind, small and hard as a nail. May took the front, the rope still around her waist like a promise she intended to keep. Behind them the laundry finally chose. It came down with a sound like a book slamming shut. The soldier flinched. The captain didn't. "Let's go wake your well," he told May. They moved, not a parade, not a retreat, something in between, the shape a city takes when it refuses to die thirsty. Spofford Alley was a throat of brick that the sun forgot. Boarded shop fronts, paper talismans feathering in the heat. The Joss house door wore a city seal like a bruise, quarantine boards from the last sickness nailed on by men who never ate here, never prayed here, but knew how to hammer. An old woman with a ring of keys the size of a dinner plate stood guard on a stool. Her hair was a white storm. "You," she said to May in Cantonese, "have your father's stubborn chin." "Auntie Lan," May breathed, "we need the well." "It was closed by men with papers," Auntie said. "They said we were a disease. They took our water, then called us dirty." She slid off the stool anyway. "Come, before another man with papers remembers us." They pried up a hatch behind the temple, planks that had learned to be silent. Underneath, a circle of stone, the mortar cracked, the lip worn smooth by 1,000 hands that were no longer welcome. An iron pump leaned there, handle frozen like a judgment. Thomas jammed his pry bar into the joint. Jun shouldered in. The first push groaned and stopped. "It needs priming," the captain said, surprising everyone with the tenderness of a mechanic. "Leather dries, it won't draw air." "With what?" the soldier demanded. "We don't have—" May wrung her towel into the mouth of the pump. Thread-thin water. Auntie Lan spat once, efficiently, then fetched a chipped teacup from the altar and poured the last of yesterday's wash over the leather cup. "Even saints need a start," she said. They pumped. Nothing. Pumped again. A cough of rust, a reek like pennies in a hot mouth. "Keep going," the captain said. "Let it remember." It remembered. Water erupted, brown first, then clouded, then clear enough to make a person weep for how much they doubted. A cheer broke like glass. The captain didn't cheer. He formed a line with his hands and people obeyed. "Roof first," he called. "Wet shingles, stop embers, then the east wall, keep the lane wet, move." Buckets flew, men, women, kids with wrists like reeds, opera boys in silk pants, longshoremen in suspenders, an undertaker with black cuffs, Auntie Lan passing like a metronome. The water hit wood and hissed. Steam lifted and blew away and came back as hope. The policeman with the waxed mustache pushed in, raising his voice to match his badge. "This water is under municipal control." "This water is under gravity," the captain said without looking at him. "Get in line." The soldier tried a different angle. He pointed uphill where Nob Hill's mansions sat like stubborn ships. "We need this for the hotels." May's laugh cut itself on her teeth. "They got a barrel an hour ago." "You saw that?" the soldier said, startled. "Everyone saw that," Thomas answered. "And the paper took notes. The dynamite man jogged up, a coil of fuse over his shoulder, his face ash and worry. "Wind's backing. If we blow the warehouse on the corner, kerosene, old paint, we can steer the fire into the wet." He glanced at the pump, at May. "If the well holds." "It will," Auntie Lan said, eyes bright with dare. "She's old, not fickle." The first arc of water over the Joss house roof drew cheers. The second saved a cornice. The third bought time. The fourth failed. Jun missed the handoff. The bucket tumbled, water slapping stone. The soldier moved to shout. May beat him to it. "Hands closer," she called. "Eyes on palms, not on smoke. Jun, change sides. You throw better left." Jun switched, scowling at himself, and immediately found a rhythm. The line breathed. Ah Fong, white as flour on a pew inside the temple, lifted his head. "Tell the captain," he rasped. "The pump will fail when the sand rises. There's a settling basin under the back stone. Open it to catch grit." The captain heard from the doorway and didn't ask how a laundryman knew a well's secrets. He nodded once and yanked up the flagged stone with Tomas's bar. The basin gurgled, the flow steadied. He grinned with half his face. "You just promoted me," he told Ah Fong, "to believing in luck." "Luck is habit," Ah Fong said, breath thin. "You practice until it looks like mercy." A gust threw a fistful of sparks, and the warehouse on the corner answered with a belch. The soldier flinched. The dynamite man set his charges low, wrapped in wet cloth the way a careful man muffles a cough. "We light on my mark," he told the captain. "Water first, blanket the wall, then boom. If we mistime it, we throw kerosene into the sky." "May," the captain called, "I need your people on the corner. Wet it till it prays." "My people?" she said, not used to hearing it from a uniform. "Anyone who trusts you enough to move when you point," he said, "which looks like half this alley." She pointed. They moved. Cooks, boys, aunties, gamblers, the undertaker, hands to buckets, feet to rhythm, the pump punching like a heart. The wall darkened. Steam rose. Kerosene stuttered. The dynamite man bit off a length of fuse, spat it, tied his knots like lullabies. The policeman snapped at May as she passed. "If this fails, this block is on your conscience." "On yours too," she said, "unless your badge floats." He swallowed whatever he'd been preparing to say and reached for the next bucket. For half a minute he was a pair of hands. "Now!" the dynamite man said, striking a match. It flared pale in the smoky light, a little sun with an order attached. He touched it to the fuse. It hissed like a snake waking up. "Hold the line!" the captain shouted. "Eyes down! Count!" They counted, not out loud, but inside their bones. 10, 9, 8. The fuse burned toward the wet-wrapped charge. Water flew. The walls steamed. The fire leaned in, curious. May looked at the pump handle beating time under Auntie Lan's arm, at Jun's mouth set in a new way, at Tomas's knuckles white on the bar, at the soldier's boots inching back, at the policeman passing again without being told. She felt the city hold still to see if it would keep a piece of itself. 3, the captain said, low. 2. The fuse kissed the charge. The alley took a breath big enough for a bay. The charge spoke in a blunt, bright syllable. Brick hopped, windows blew inward like a gasp taken back, and the warehouse folded along the line the dynamite man had whispered to it. A tongue of orange reared, met the rain of buckets, and went from raw to animal wine. The shock punched the alley, then ran off to bother someone richer up the hill. We held, the captain said, not smiling, as if joy would spook the moment. Steam made ghosts of them. The soldier lowered his rifle the way a man lowers a wrong idea. The policeman passed another bucket without looking surprised at his own hands. The pump laboured, coughed sand, steadied. Auntie Lan put her forehead to the iron. "Don't you dare," she told it. "Not while people are believing in you." A carriage slewed into the alley, glossy as a beetle. A man in a silk waistcoat stood up in it, pinched by his collar. "City business," he called. "We require 4 barrels for the Fairmont. The mayor requires a roof when his turns," the captain said. "Get in line." The man blinked at the word line like it was a language he did not keep in the house. "Sir, you don't understand." "I do," the captain said, eyes on the pump. "That's why you're still talking, and these people are still living." The man looked to the soldier for rescue. The soldier looked at May, at the bucket moving hand to hand because she pointed and because it made sense. He shifted his weight and found himself heavier if he stayed with the carriage. "Come back when the wind changes," he told the silk waistcoat. "Or bring your own buckets." The carriage recoiled and fled, offended. A pen scratched behind them. A reporter in a straw hat was taking notes with clean cuffs. "Heroic demolition averts Chinatown inferno," he murmured, testing the shape of the sentence. "Order restored by—" May turned. "Write this," she said. "A city without water was saved by a well you boarded up, a woman you don't photograph, and a captain who listens." He considered her like a headline he couldn't sell. "Names?" "May," she said. "Spell it how you spell mercy." He smiled the way men smile when they've already decided. "Mother with ledger halts flames," he said to his paper. "Excellent." "I'm not a mother," May said. "Not anymore," he answered without thinking, then coloured as if he'd heard his own meanness. I meant—" He looked at the soldier for help and found none. He pocketed his notebook and hurried toward a safer narrative. Jun tugged May's sleeve. "Listen." From the bay came a whistle, 2 short, 1 long, the kind sailors used when the fog thought it owned the morning. The ledger had been more than paper, it had been invitation. The Pacific Bell's launch shouldered into the shallows with 3 barrels tied into its ribs. The cook from the boarding house waved a rag like a flag. "Salt water!" he yelled. "Enough to wet the roofs, enough to keep sparks from nesting." "Salt ruins carpets," the reporter said reflexively, then stopped, looked at the ash under his shoes, and had the grace to shut up. Thomas whooped. "Carpets can learn to swim." They rolled the barrels up the alley like 3 stubborn bulls. The soldier moved to block them, then didn't. The captain tapped the heads with his knuckles, judged the sound. "We'll keep the fresh for throats in the pump," he said. "The bay can have the shingles." They sloshed salt over cornices and eaves. It dried to a lace of white. It tasted like tears everyone had already run out of. The fire tried to leap. Salt made it stumble. Ah Fong, propped on pillows, watched May direct men who would have laughed last week if she'd told them where to stand. "You look like your mother when she played mahjong," he murmured. "Quiet until the tile that wins arrives." "She always said luck is practice," May said. "And practice," he answered, "is stubborn." The pump faltered again. Jun felt it through the handle, a stutter like a heartbeat losing courage. "Sand," he panted. "Settle it," the captain called. Thomas levered the back stone. Grit swirled. The throat cleared. The flow returned, thin but loyal. Sirens wailed far off. Companies chasing rumors of pressure. Men finding hydrants that coughed praise once and then turned to mud. Words scudded through the alley, lake water from the park by the wagon load. A hydrant on a hill in the Mission that refused to die. Churches throwing open doors, mansions locking them. "Captain!" A runner stumbled in, eyes rimmed with smoke. "Orders from headquarters. Blow Kearney all the way to Pine. The wind's backing south. They're clearing the Chinese by dusk." "Clearing where?" May asked. The runner shrugged. Away. The soldier squared, relieved to have something simple to wear. The captain didn't move. "If we blow Kearney without wetting pine, we make a chimney," he said. "Tell your papermen that when they write their courage stories." "We write orders," the runner said. "You follow them." "I follow water," the captain replied. He looked at May. A decision crossed his face. "You can hold this well?" She stood taller than her few inches. "We can hold anything we're allowed to touch." He nodded once. Promotion without a badge. To the soldier, "Take 2 men, pull carts from the park, bring pond water till your legs forget the difference. If anyone stops you, tell them Chinatown is saving their parlor." The soldier saluted without mockery. "Yes, Captain." The dynamite man drew a map in ash on a crate. "We cut here and here after the buckets come," he said, tapping corners. "If we time it, we turn the fire on itself." Auntie Lan fed the pump a saucer of last night's tea like a superstition. "For temper," she said. The iron purred and forgave the offering. By late afternoon the alley was wet and dark like a fish's back. The fire sulked, went looking for easier wood. Relief whispered, dangerous as whiskey on an empty stomach. Then the wind changed like a mood. Smoke flattened and arrowed from the south. Flames licked across roofs they hadn't considered enemies an hour ago. From the direction of Kearney came a thump and a whoomph. Another block traded for a chance. A new front kindled along the edge of a street that had thought itself a spectator. The captain looked at May, at the well, at the map he did not have. "Hold this," he said. "I'm going to keep a promise to a fool with a fuse." He jogged toward the fresh roar. May planted her feet, slick with salt and prayer. "Line up," she called. "Fresh on throats, salt on shingles, and if you drop a bucket, I want to hear it apologize." The alley obeyed a woman nobody had authorized. Far off, the bay breathed. Close by, the pump did too. Between them, a city learned how to be thirsty without giving up. By nightfall, San Francisco no longer looked like a city. It looked like a memory someone was trying to erase with fire. The streets pulsed red and black. The sky was a mouth inhaling everything human. The fire leapt from building to building like it had legs. Roofs didn't burn. They exploded, sending planks cartwheeling through the air. The noise was endless, horses screaming, glass surrendering, men yelling directions no one could hear. And through all that, the pump in Spofford Alley kept moving, chuck-chuck, chuck-chuck, as if the handle itself refused to rest. May's palms were raw. Jun's shoulder had blistered from the handle's bite. Auntie Lan's braid was grey with ash, her voice stripped down to one word, faster. They worked until their bodies forgot they had edges, until buckets blurred into hands, hands into rhythm, rhythm into faith. Down the hill, the captain was fighting fire with gunpowder. He'd met the dynamite man at the corner of Kearney, where the blaze had turned the cobblestones red. "You ready to die smart or die stupid?" the dynamite man asked. "Smart," the captain said. They laid the fuses low, wrapped in wet cloth from the bay, and prayed to science and luck. Every boom bought 20 minutes, a block of breathing space. Every spark risked everything. "Your girl's still pumping?" the dynamite man asked. "She's not my girl," the captain said. "She's the reason any of us still have lungs." Back in the alley, Jun's hands trembled. The pump was losing voice again. "It's choking," he gasped. Auntie Lan crouched, ear to the pipe. "Sand's risen. The well's full of ghosts. We need to bleed it." May hesitated. If they opened the bleed valve, they'd lose half their pressure, and maybe all their luck. But Ah Fong stirred on his palate, voice faint but sharp. "Better to share your breath than to drown in it." She nodded. "Do it." Jun wrenched the side valve open. A cough of mud and stone spat out. brown water pooling under their feet. The pump groaned, then roared, clear again. And from somewhere deep below, so deep it might have been the city's buried heart, came a new sound, a rush, a pulse, a joining. Underground water, freed by quake and luck, had found the old well's path. A fountain burst from the pump's mouth, scattering droplets that glowed orange in the firelight. People screamed, not from fear this time, but relief. "Pressure!" May cried. "We've got pressure!" The line doubled, tripled. Water climbed walls like faith rediscovered. The policeman appeared again, face streaked with soot, one sleeve burned away. "The camp at the Presidio's full," he said. "They're sending refugees to the ferries." May didn't stop working. "Refugees?" she said. "You mean the people who lived here?" He looked down, shame cracking something small inside him. "Yes," he said, then softer. "They're calling it martial law. The army's shooting looters." "Looters?" May spat. "We're saving the city." He nodded, helpless. "I know, but they won't see that when they come." From the north end of the alley, soldiers appeared, new ones, clean, uniforms crisp, like they'd been pressed by someone's dead father. Their lieutenant raised a megaphone. "All civilians must evacuate immediately. Firebreak orders. This district will be demolished." The line faltered. Buckets froze mid-air. Even the pump stuttered, sensing disbelief. May stepped forward, dripping and shaking. "You blow this block," she said, "and you kill the only water left downtown." The lieutenant's voice was polite and cold. "Orders from headquarters." Tomas wiped his face with the back of his arm. "Headquarters ain't here," he said. "We are." The captain appeared out of the smoke behind them, helmet gone, coat torn. "He's right," he said. "You pull that trigger, you dry the city." "Sir, with respect." "With respect," the captain snapped. "You'll have to shoot through me first." The lieutenant hesitated. The wind filled the pores with sparks. Ah Fong pushed himself up on his elbows, pain wringing his breath. "You want fire breaks?" he rasped. "Here's one. A wall of people. You'll have to burn through them too." The alley went still. Nobody moved. Only the sound of the pump, chuk 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 chuk, filled the silence. The lieutenant looked at May, at her cracked hands, her blistered arms, the crowd behind her made of every color the city pretended it didn't have, and he realized something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He was looking at a line stronger than any chain of command. He lowered the megaphone. "Hold the line," he said quietly. Then, louder to his men, "Stand down!" And for the first time that day, someone in uniform obeyed compassion over command. By dawn, the fire had broken itself. It had run out of roofs, out of air, out of arrogance. The city still smoked, black and gold. The sky turned lavender, embarrassed by what it had seen. The pump at Spofford Alley gurgled one last sigh and stopped. Its handle hung loose, exhausted, but proud. Auntie Lan patted it like a child's shoulder. "Good girl," she whispered. The captain slumped beside May on the curb. 3 days, he said. "No water, no city, but you gave it back." May looked toward the bay, where smoke met sea. "Not me," she said. "Just the ones who remembered where the water slept." He smiled, too tired to speak. The wind carried the smell of salt, smoke, and soap, like a promise. Sometimes salvation isn't in the strong or the rich, or the ones giving orders. It's in the hands that remember where the water used to be, and have the courage to dig again. If this story moved you, share it, subscribe, and remember. The world still burns in places without water, and heroes still rise from the ashes.